Good afternoon, partners. This is Sherman Crancer from Microsoft. I'm the Senior Partner Channel Development Manager for the Western United States. I want to say thank you so much for joining us today, the day after a great, nice holiday, little break. You know, they say that the camera adds 15 pounds, but I'll just tell you, I think it's more about the holiday that added the 15 pounds today. So I want to say thanks so much for joining us. You know, we're going to be talking about, you know, verticals, but also how to leverage the CIE program in conjunction with the Microsoft Community Connections program to build large lead lists that will hopefully put you in a position where you can, you know, increase your sales and revenue significantly. So that's what we're going to get into today. So I want to say thank you very much for joining the call. You know, a couple of things. Just to, you know, kind of clear up some housekeeping items. If you take a look, you can actually provide or ask questions in the Q&A section that should be on the right-hand side of the broadcast. We actually are actively looking at it. eGen is monitoring it, and we want to answer your questions when they come up. So we want to make this as interactive as possible, okay? And then next, you know, we look forward to providing you some great content today. So we have I think a really great you know, show today. We're going to talk about thought leadership, and we're going to go into consulting. You know, what type of consulting do you do? Then we have a special guest, Brian Lanuma, today, and then we'll go into the package of the week. Then we'll talk about Microsoft Community Connections and the CIE program. We'll get into some resources, project lead gen commitments, and then lastly, we'll cover the summary. So we've got a lot to cover today. You know, so the first thing is really about, you know, thought leadership, right? So this is where we talk about things that I think are going to help the partners, you know, increase their sales and marketing efforts, increase the way that they do their business, and hopefully give you some really insightful tips and you know, strategies to really increase your overall revenue. So really, it's consulting 101. So, you know, the first question I'd like to ask a lot of people when I'm talking to different partners is really, you know, how do you consult? You know, how do you go about, you know, talking to, you know, a potential prospect? I think a lot of us, and me included, in many different instances, have looked at consulting as a way to just go in there and say, okay, I'm your consultant. Tell me about your network issues. You know, what's your problem? Tell me right now. Let's go ahead and fix it. And so you have to ask yourself, you know, are you a reactionary consultant, or are you a proactive type of consultant? And what I mean by that is, you know, there's two very distinct differences to this. And I think more of the reactionary consultant is, what is your, you know, what is your problem right now? Let's go ahead and fix it. I'm going to give you my ideas today. Okay, I'm going to tell you how to fix it right now, as opposed to the way I think business is changing so fast. So we have to be more of a proactive consultant and not necessarily try to fix the exact, you know, the things that are coming up, but more about fixing and helping the client out with the way that they, you know, look at their, you know, business and the processes and whatnot. So, you know, the question is, why would you consult this way? And I think consulting more in a proactive environment where you're becoming extremely curious, you're becoming extremely inquisitive, not necessarily about just the exact problem that's happening today, but more about what's affecting the company in general. What's affecting, you know, what are the psychological things that are happening with sales and marketing, as well as, you know, what are the issues that are happening between operations and finance and the CEO? Asking questions, you know, about how they feel, not necessarily about what's wrong, changes the way that you actually consult. The next thing is to talk about mindset. Okay, what is your mindset? So one of the best tips that I ever heard when I talked about consulting and going into different clients is when actually I was taught about the 7 steps to the sale back, I think, in 1996 or 97. So I'm carrying a bag, I'm out there, I'm knocking on doors, I'm talking to 100 people a day, trying to get 2 appointments a day, and really, one of the things that and he was a great sales manager, cut from the teeth, the door knocking sales, right? And he's like, okay, Sherman, you get an appointment. This is the first thing you got to do. You got to go in there and you got to look. You got to look around the office to find some common ground, because you need to establish a sense of friendship, a personal nature with your clients. So I would go in there and you would see it. You would see like a ship that was sailing. Well, I have a U.S. sailing license, so I would talk about sailing first, right? Because you're breaking down the barriers of those clients and having them with their arms length out, right? Or you look at their desk and they have a Mont Blanc pen, or you see in a picture that they have, they play tennis, or they have a big family, or they've been to Hawaii or whatnot. And he basically helped me understand that when you're talking to someone, a potential client, their first, bit of psychology is to always think that you're going to try to sell them on something, right? And we all have that right now. So he would mention to me, change the way you approach it, where it becomes a personal appointment first, as opposed to something that's about just business. And I think we all make these big mistakes when it comes to that. So a lot of times we come in and we're thinking about consulting. We're thinking like, okay, let's sit down, let's roll up the sleeves. Tell me what your problems are, right? Right now, who cares about the personal stuff? I'm going to help you with this. Tell me about what's going on. What's wrong with your infrastructure? What's wrong with productivity and collaboration and what's wrong with your time, your expenses and we miss something. We miss the personal nature. And I think in today's market, there's so much information out there, and there's so many clients, okay, that you potentially have, that when they're looking to learn about, what is the cloud or search engine optimization, they research it on the internet. But what do they find? They typically find 20 or 30 companies that are selling something, right? And they're sending out their account executives who are just giving them the hard press. But if you think about your business and the way you approach these potential appointments, you might want to start thinking about consulting in a more proactive way, where you, instead of going in there saying, okay, tell me everything, give me your network infrastructure, you say, well, before we go into that, let me ask you some questions. In your opinion, what doesn't work in this office? In your opinion, what are the struggles between your different departments? Can you tell me a little bit more about why this is happening, right? Then you're going to, before that, the precursor to that is to kind of figure out a way to become fast friends very quickly. So extrapolating what I was taught a long time ago, I'd have to say that you don't necessarily want to go in there and do exactly that was really more for the door-to-door, small time sale thing. But it did give you, gives perspective to the idea of proactive consulting, which is, something people want to do business with their friends or people they feel comfortable with. And if you understand the way that most sales executives and business owners out there that are looking to sell something, the first time they go in, what do? They literally forget any type of personal connection, but they go straight into business. So that's what you have to think about. You need to be fast friends and understand that. So you want to fast forward the relationship right away. Talk about things. Ask inquisitive questions. Ask personal questions. I mean, not too personal, but ask questions that you can hopefully break down those barriers to get there. So the next thing is to approach each opportunity with a deep curiosity beyond infrastructure. I would suggest that when you're going in for your first appointments, that you kind of change it up a little bit, right? You're not all about just their business, but more about, let me ask some open-ended questions. And if you don't know what an open-ended question is, and that's fine. A lot of people kind of, what is an open-ended or closed question? What an open-ended question is, and this is what all of your questions should be when you're doing a consulting type of appointment, is really something that they can't say yes or no to. So a yes or no to question is, are you happy with your current IT provider? Yes or no. Okay, well then what did that get you? Okay, that didn't get you any more information than what it was, and it's still an adversarial relationship. But now if you said, hey, can you explain to me your interactions with your current IT provider? What are some of the challenges that you are seeing, right? How do you feel about that? You know, what are some of the issues that the rest of your organization has? You're looking for stuff that gets them to open up, right? And then you find those key emotional triggers in there, and that's going to ultimately help you down the road. But you want to fast forward that. All right, so ask yourself, you know, what bothers your client, right? What bothers your client? And then the last thing, I think we kind of covered this, is, and I close this section always with, you know, dreamers talk about what they're going to do, right? But leaders do what they talk about. Ask yourself the question before we move on: are you a dreamer or are you a leader? And I think everyone who is on this call today, I would say that you're a bunch of leaders because you're learning about this. But don't be a dreamer. Just do it. All right, so let's move in to our next one, our guest of the week, a dear friend of mine, a great MCC partner that has done, you know, been in the program for about a year and a half, and just wonderful. He's part of our SBA Tech Tips series, and I'm just elated to introduce him. Brian, would you possibly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, you know, what you do and your organization, and maybe kind of where you started from?
Very good, Sherman. Thank you. To dovetail off of your comment about leadership, John F. Kennedy once said, "Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other." My name is Brian Enuma. My company is called Strategic Systems Group. We are a Los Angeles-based IT consulting firm, experts in enterprise resource planning. We help manufacturing logistics companies, say about 25 million to 150 million in revenue, who are frustrated by the lack of internal IT skills, who are upset by things that haven't gone so well, maybe in a prior implementation with another consulting firm, and who are under pressure to get lots of things done with too few resources. We help companies leverage their IT infrastructure and their enterprise resource planning applications to enhance their business processes and enhance their bottom line.
Great, thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. You know, the next thing is really is getting into, you know, thoughts with Brian, right? And the idea behind that is, you know, Brian is in a particular industry that, not industry, but he's part of the IT industry that a lot of people don't know a whole lot about, right? And that's ERP. And I think what a good idea, because, you know, MCC is not necessarily just about doing events, right, or doing you know, presentations and getting large leads. It's also about partnering with the right partners. And I think that's why Brian is so compelling in what he does. And you know, he's just a great person. So Brian, hey, help us understand, you know, for the partners out there, you know, what ERP is. And kind of just break it down for him, because I remember when I was a partner, I didn't quite know that, you know, till I really got in here to Microsoft.
Great, thanks, Sherman. Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP, is a broad application that covers many areas. In some of the training that we do, you kind of draw some pictures off to the right about GL, AP, and AR. There's also logistics components where sales orders and purchase orders come into play. And then in manufacturing organizations, there are things that relate to inventory control and also manufacturing. So in a manufacturing environment, it's actually fairly complex, and the ERP application helps to drive the whole thing.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So, you know, what sort of problems does your firm solve, you know, for your clients?
Thank you, Sherman. Good question. There are a couple of things that kind of pop up frequently. One of them is that on occasion there has been staff turnover. So the people who have the tribal knowledge within the organization about how the system works and how it applies to business processes have moved on to other organizations, leaving a hole. Oftentimes we are able to kind of come into that hole and to be able to provide some training so that the people who are remaining in those organizations have a chance to pick up where they left off. Another example is that there are situations where they have implemented much of the application, but maybe there's an application or two or module or two that hasn't been implemented yet. So for example, we're doing some work with a client to get the service module in place so that they can use the ERP application to drive their field service. There's also been situations where they've had some problems with accounting where they've had trouble reconciling. So it's a little bit of a boring topic, but in accounting there are some reconciliations that sometimes throw people off, and if not resolved, they could actually misstate their net income.
Interesting. And then how does that impact the clients financially, would you say?
In the ideal case, in some cases, it's very minor. So in some cases, it's just that kind of reconciliation process that we mentioned before, or report that has to be enhanced slightly. So it's not as critical as other things. But the part that really is interesting, at least for me, is a part that applies to the business process. So the ERP application should mimic the business process and support it so that it runs more efficiently and helps the organization drive down costs.
Okay, great. So let me ask you this. So how have you leveraged the MCC program to your benefit? Because you've been a long time, contributor to the MCC program, and I really want the CIE facilitators that are on this call to really kind of see how you're doing it and see what the big benefit is.
Right. Okay, thanks, Sherman. The MCC program, as we talked about a little bit earlier, it's process. So I'm a big fan of process, and if you give me a process to follow, I can usually do it. So from that standpoint, the MCC program has been really good for us. You mentioned CIE a little bit earlier. One of the things that I had a chance to do with Manish Bhartia at the Brea Chamber of Commerce. He went to go and get 10 PCs to go and take into the Chamber of Commerce auditorium, and was able to set them up at the very front row of the auditorium. And then for people who didn't have devices, they were able to kind of come down and use the most current version of Office and Excel. And we did a pretty good job of putting together an Excel training class for them. So in summary, the MCC program isn't the only one that has suggested to us that public speaking is a way to generate leads. I have a pretty strong feeling that it has helped us and will help us in the future.
That's great. So yeah, let's talk about SCORE. Let's talk about what you've been doing with SCORE and some of the other partners. Because and the reason why I'm bringing up SCORE is answer this question really: are you driving attendance to those SCORE events?
That's a good question. In general, the SCORE events are driven by SCORE themselves in terms of having a chance to outreach, send email, post on the website, and so forth. So in some regards, we are a little bit constrained by how the SCORE organization is promoting these events. We have an opportunity, since we have some of our own names and email addresses in our own databases, we have a chance to also promote those same events to people that we know. That has been pretty good for us. So the group of us that do these SCORE events includes Eric Klaus, Manish Bhartia, Eddie Bader. We've been able to do some of these things on our own as well.
That's awesome. That's the point that I really want to get across here is, how much effort are you doing, putting into driving attendance to your events? And it's realistically, while you're sending it out to your current clients, right, that you are also really, 90% of the attendees are probably driven by the influence organization, the SCORE chapter, correct, right?
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Now that really helps me segue into our next section, which really is Microsoft Community Connections for CIE facilitators. Okay, so we have a question here. It says, can you please explain CIE? Okay, what is CIE? Well, it's a customer immersion experience. It's a program that's run by Microsoft, and it's a training where we actually have you sit down for 2.5 days, and you actually learn how to provide a complete immersion experience for a set of customers. Microsoft provides anywhere between 5 and 10 or 15 different laptops, and each laptop actually has a client that is pre-provisioned for them. And typically what CIE facilitators have done in the past is that they'll set up a date and time, they'll reserve the whole package where, literally 2 big cases with laptops will be delivered to you. And then the guests that the CIE facilitators have invited will show up. And a lot of them do it on site. They can do it in the Microsoft Technology Centers. And what they do is they provide a full immersion experience to these clients. These clients get to now see, how to properly use Word, Outlook, Excel, Skype for Business, how to collaborate more effectively. And the beauty of that particular program is that the close ratios are significantly higher than if you were just to basically, go and sell the product by itself. And why is that? I'll tell you why CIE is so powerful. It's because you are showing the client what you know, right? You're becoming an expert right in front of the client's eyes in 4 hours, right? That you're an expert at, Outlook and collaboration and Skype for Business. And there's so many different things that you can, do within the program. And you show them what you know, and we've just seen such significantly higher volumes. Now, if you want to get involved in the CIE program, it's $1,000 to get in there. We do have some coupons for some of our partners that are really interested in it to help knock down half the price. However, you just have to send me an email and let me know, and I'll put you in touch with the CIE facilitator manager, Wendy Harrison. So I hope that really helps you understand what the CIE program, and this is probably why we're going to get into this particular section. So now for the rest of the audience, and I saw one of the questions was, how do I get a copy of this deck? Well, you can always get the copy of the deck at aka.ms/PLG Power. Okay, pretty simple. So all the PowerPoints are put there, so you can always get that. And I'll have eGen put that in the comment section here in a minute. All right, so why are we talking about this? So we're talking about solving a problem that most CIE facilitators have, and that's getting people to their events, right? And you're sitting there and you're like, I love the CIE program, I want to do more of them, but I'm sending out 15,000 emails, I'm getting 4 people, to my event, and that was actually my own reference point because I did that once and it was just terrible, right? But that's the problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to help you understand how we can leverage a current program that's at Microsoft called the Microsoft Community Connections Program to help you put you in a position where you're conducting CIE events, right? But having the responsibility of demand gen put on somebody else, which is a business organization. That's what we're going to be covering today. All right, so the problem we're trying to solve is 1, getting attendees to your events, 2, finding a better way to generate large lead lists, and really a systematic approach to building a profitable business. So that's what we're trying to solve, and I think we just kind of went all in that in my speech to start this thing out. But Brian, let me ask you this. Brian, a systematic approach to building profitable business. I remember when you and I started, you were like, "Gosh, what is this? Why?" But I think you liked it because it was process based. It was step by step, right? Is that correct? Or tell me your thoughts on it.
Yeah, very good, Sherman. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty good at process. And the MCC program, the way you've structured it, has a pretty good process, fairly easy to follow, and it's just a matter of going step by step.
Simple and sweet. That's why I love Brian. He just does it like it is. So that's what we want to do. So that's what we're gonna explain to you, especially the CIE facilitators that are on this call today, is how do you do this? How do you get into this program? So first we need to understand what Microsoft Community Connections, the program is. This is a separate program from CIE that's actually been running for quite a long time, for several years here at Microsoft, and it's really an educational community outreach program. The way to kind of frame it, we framed it a little bit differently in this past year and a half, because we want to help our partners get inside of these business organizations. So what it is we reach out to business organizations, 501c6s, okay? And these 501c6 organizations can be chambers, they can be business councils, and what I think is the best way of going about it is business associations that are vertical related, and that's what we're going to get into a little bit later, but verticals. And what we want to do is we want to provide these business organizations, Microsoft is providing these business organizations, basically member benefits. We provide them with really 4 key things, and we basically frame it as Microsoft wants to talk to you about a $15,000 educational sponsorship, and that sponsorship includes 4 things, right? 4 specific things. 1, we want to provide you with tech tips every single month, but we want to send it through our partner. So when you're talking to a business organization, it is Microsoft, the brand, and the partner. So the partner is attached to this. So when we're talking to them, we're saying, hey, one, we're going to send you tech tips, but we're really sending it to Brian, and then Brian is sending it to the influencer organization. So if you're a CIE facilitator, that's what you're doing. Number two, we'll put together a series of 12 seminars or webinars, right, for you, once a month, every single month, and we'll provide $5,000 in education and software for the next 12 months. So we'll raffle off $400 worth of software at every single event. And four, we will conduct two very specific invitation-only CIE events, and this is for those facilitators. Okay, so now these CIE events, you basically schedule two of those per association that you're working with, and the association is responsible for sending those attendees to your events. So after we explain this to the association and say, look, this is what Microsoft is providing, right? And then I'll say, you're probably wondering, what are our expectations for you? And the response is, we're going to provide this $15,000 educational sponsorship gratis as long as you adhere to a few, very minor things. And one is that you drive demand gen. You actually drive attendance to the actual events that we're putting on. You put it on your calendar so that everyone can take a look and make sure they can register for those events. And lastly, you generally be really positive about doing that and give us constructive feedback so we can help you out. One of the things that we don't necessarily demand, but we ask you to do, is to put the recordings of all 12 seminars or webinars on your educational sponsorship page. And the reason we ask you to do that is so that the rest of your members who could not see that information can now see it. Now, the beauty of this whole thing, okay, this Microsoft Community Connections program for CIE facilitators as well as MCC partners, is that we are basically utilizing Microsoft branding, right, to get in to this association, and we're going about it a little bit different way. They're not used to this. They're not used to a big brand saying, hey, we want to bring our partner in, right? They're not used to it. And we talk about, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to help you out. But in the grand, scheme of things, what's really happening is while we are providing education to these members, you're also building your profile in each one of these associations that you go after. That's what's really important. And that's what really happens. So, why is it a different approach? Because nobody else is doing it. There's nobody else calling these associations, doing webinars and seminars and providing an educational sponsorship. There's no one. There's no other company, no other big organization such as Microsoft that's saying, yeah, use our brand, use our name. We want to be there with you. We want to, help you understand this. So that's what it is. All right. So let's get into the next one, impact success story. Now, this may seem self-serving, and I don't mean it to be, but I think I need you to try to provide a frame so that you can understand, how this can actually work. Now, I have a lot of experience in sales and marketing, right? I have 15 years in sales and marketing, and I started my IT business about 4 years ago. I went off on my own. I had a telecom and fiber business, and about 2.5 years ago, so I only was in the business for 1 year, I started an IT business, right? But I didn't have any leads. I had no leads whatsoever. And I didn't want to go to my current customer base because I didn't know if I was very good at IT. I didn't know exactly my processes, smart, but not that smart, right? So I decided, okay, I'm not going to cut my teeth on my current customers. I'm going to go find new ones. And so I heard about MCC, this Microsoft Community Connections program, and I had followed it the way I thought it was supposed to be done, which was basically register an event and send out a whole bunch of leads, send out a whole bunch of invitations. People are going to come, they're going to hear me speak, and this is just going to be business everywhere, right? Well, make a long story short, no. There's no business. No, that doesn't happen. Just like you are having the problem with getting people to your seats. So we changed it up. That's when I created this Project Lead Gen program, and this program was really, okay, how do we go about this differently, right? Because when I'm calling these associations saying, hi, my name is Sherman from IP Bidders, they're not answering my phone. They're hanging up on me, clicking on me. So basically, I said, okay, we're going to frame it just the way I explained it with the 12 events. And hey, I'm calling on behalf of Microsoft. We want to do X, Y, and Z. And then it lit up. I ended up doing 300 events in 1 year, okay? That's 300 one-hour events in 1 year and some 3-hour events with SCORE, which was crazy nuts, and I wouldn't expect any one of you to do it, but I was doing multiple webinars back to back to back. But I was able to bring in 3,600 net new leads into my drip marketing system, 132,000 in project revenue, and $7,200 in recurring revenue. Okay, that's what I was able to do. And the reason, and then, you know, Microsoft called and we started talking and they're like, hey, can you teach us? And I'm like, yes, I really want to do this. I want to help people understand how to sell and market in a different way. And that's what the success story for it. This works. This program works if you work it, but the only way to do that is if you actually work hard at it. All right, so let's get into, you know, how do you get started, right, with the program? And it's really, you know, pretty simple. You need to be a partner with Microsoft. You need to log in and learn how to work within the program. So you go to aka.ms, ready to go, PLG. We want you to send out 10 emails to associations, to your vertical, and literally, you know, just do it. One of the neat things about this program too, especially for the CIE facilitators, is that we actually have inside tele-resources. So I have a partner for the West Coast. Her name is eJen, right? And she is amazing. She is a great resource, and that's to help our partners schedule events and help them understand the program. But first, what we need you to do is actually learn how to do it. So what I did, we created a program, it's called Project Lead Gen. Okay, it's a 5-part series that train you on how to do this correctly. 5 parts. So each part has 5 2-minute videos in the program, very easy to watch, and then we show you how to do it. If you're a CIE facilitator, you probably only need to do modules 1 through 3. Okay, very simple, very easy to do. And you want to make sure that you, you know, click on the link and download it. So you got to go there, click on the link, download it, watch the videos, you'll understand it, and then start sending out those emails. Now, Brian, let me ask you this. You know, you were part of Road to Champs when it was the first, and then Project Lead Gen. Tell me about your experiences within, you know, both programs and what your thoughts to where it's kind of evolved to now.
Oh, okay, thanks. Good question. The process, when it was first developed, it was a little bit, I'll be a little bit honest, it was a little bit rocky, but things have improved a great deal with the second pass, so it was much easier to get through. One of the things that we kind of observed, and you have mentioned to us as well, is that the chambers of commerce and the SCORE attendees are generally fairly small businesses. And the trick to this, I think, is to sort of graduate, if you will, to go and find some organizations or associations that are in the vertical that we work in. So two that you and I have talked about previously are the Coalition for Prosperous America and the California Network for Manufacturing Innovation. So since we are providers of ERP application services, those associations fit better into our target market.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for doing that. So we have a couple questions here. You know, I just want to get answer to. You know, is the CIE program available for Action Pack partners? It's available for any partner. You know, whether you're not even Action Pack, you just sign up for an MPN. We want to help you get started. So we have that, but we also have large partners, and the large partners are great because they have marketing departments. And man, they can just start sending out all these emails, start getting involved, and we can help them out. So we'll work with you, and we want to work with you. So that's why it's important to go to the PLG call and register through there. So the next one is the CIA. Will more CIE training dates be available? And yeah, they will be. You know, they keep adding them every single year, and they kind of go from, you know, Southern California, or they go across the country, excuse me. But we have them in Northern California, Southern California, in the West, all different places. So, you know, we're happy to assist you with that. And then, you know, is this being recorded? Absolutely. You can just take this and go to the same link, and you can watch this over and over again. But yeah, we'll definitely have this for you to take a look at a little later. All right, so let's get into the package of the week, because now we're going to get into verticals, and this is how MCC and PLG work together. And it's understanding the viewpoint, right, of how you make Microsoft Community Connections and business organizations really work for you. So the package of the week, and we've gone over this before, is really the small business security prevention package. And we basically talk about, you know, we always want to have something that's going to increase our margins significantly, right? And we want to make sure that those margins aren't just licensing revenue type of margins. And with those margins, licensing is you're going to have 8 to 10 to 12% margins, and you're basically sitting there without any ability to compete against the GoDaddies, right, or the software media, or the big organizations that are just going to discount the heck out of it. So you got to create a package, right? So to get 45, 55, 100%. Not 100%, but quite large margins. So you start with the MSP Tier 1 services, right? You want to do Office 365 E3. Don't just get away from the business or the email. Look at it from a software-focused type of view, right? So you're talking about the collaboration, the piece of the downloading, all the software packages, the increase in security, a lot of those different things with E3 that does not come with just regular business premium. And then you get into the migration of Exchange and telco services. I keep saying this every single week. Let's talk about how we can increase our margins by selling something else that's actually relatively easy. Which is selling internet services, right? No problem. It's just a rip and replace, and you can get 17% on a monthly recurring basis. Next is mobile workforce management, cybersecurity for small business, and mobility and multi-factor authentication. Now you take this package and you take that and you say, okay, well, what am I going to? How much does it cost me, and what is my margin? And we're looking for something around 45 to 61% margin on these things. But the most important thing is you're not line item showing the cost of each one. It is a package. A lot of people says, do you want fries with that, right? It's a package. We're going to put together a package for these organizations. All right, so let's get into, let's see, vertical markets. All right, so let's get into the vertical markets. And what we need to understand, with vertical markets are first, what are those? What are the vertical markets that we are actually seeing on here? And we have automotive, right? We have banking, we have consumer, we have education, we have engineering, we have energy, fast food, fast-moving consumer goods, financials, food, beverage, government, healthcare, right? And then I just go ahead and list the next one. The reason why I'm listing both of them for both the MCC and CIE facilitators is this is where you start looking. You're aiming. You're no longer doing the shotgun approach. Hopefully I'm gonna get customers somewhere. But you're looking at a vertical market that you're going to go after, and you're going to provide a very specific product or service. Now, let me get it back to Brian, because I want to make sure that he's not just over there falling asleep here. Brian, and I know you're not, but Brian, help me understand how you're approaching vertical markets.
Thanks, Sherman. While I'm here, trust me, it's not boring. From a standpoint of vertical markets, I think it's important to at least present yourself as an expert in one area. We often found that in situations where we've kind of gone in to say, well, we can do anything for anybody, a lot of times it doesn't sit well with the folks that we're meeting with. I think an element of trust has to get built up. So you mentioned rapport earlier. So that element has got to be upfront, at the very beginning of the conversation. This notion of being able to specialize in a vertical market, I think, is also very important. So we come across as experts in manufacturing, for example. And I think that in many cases that helps a lot in terms of comfort factor to kind of help the prospect understand that we can indeed solve their problems.
And you become an expert, right, in the customer's eyes?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And you get better and better at that because you're focusing on one industry, correct? Exactly.
There could be times at some point in an organization of a firm where the vertical might change, or you might add a vertical. I think it's sort of important to sort of keep things a little bit separate to kind of make sure that the folks that you're speaking to understand that you're an expert in that vertical market.
Okay. So, and then I think how this ties to MCC and CIE is what you want to do is you want to fish in the areas where there's a lot of fish, right, Brian?
Fair enough.
I mean, you don't want to fish in a lake that's got no fish, right? Or fish in a lake where you have one huge client and a lot of small ones. I think a lot of partners today actually do that. It's a shotgun approach. I'll take anybody and everyone, right? And it's not very strategic. It doesn't allow for, not just regional growth, but national growth. And you're never an expert at any one thing. Would you agree with that, Brian?
Yeah, fair enough. This notion of expertise, I think, builds over time. Mm-hmm. So in our situation, I kind of hate to explain, but we began this process in 1991. in terms of supporting and doing software development for manufacturing organizations. This process, it takes time to develop, and as you focus on a vertical market, I think there are specific problems that you're able to solve in that vertical market that you might not be able to solve if you were everything to everybody.
That's great. That's great. I really think you really need to be strategic about everything you do. Everything's got to be a process. You can't just hope and pray. And I think that's when you're out there shotgunning it, you're hoping and praying something's going to happen. But let's stop that. Let's change. Let's evolve. Let's become better at what you do. And let's create a strategy where you can provide the same service over and over again, right? But also be able to do that on a regional, statewide as well as national level. All right, so the next question really comes up is, okay, great. So you showed me where all the verticals were, but where do I find the corresponding business associations? And that's really good. Brian, before you look at the slide, where do you go when you're looking for organizations?
First, guystar.com.
All right, guystar.com. All right, so let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and play this video here, and we'll show you. All right, here you go. One of the key motions to growing your Microsoft practice through Microsoft Community Connections is to find the right associations. As a partner, I learned different methods with the MCC playbook and found success with a specific tool that I'll call out here. There are many ways to source information about an association, but is there a way to get a complete picture of the group? GuideStar.org is an organization that compiles public records such as financials from nonprofit groups in the US. This may be one of the best and easiest tools to use to get useful information. Here are the steps that we have found useful. Go to GuideStar.org, then advanced search. Enter keyword association. In the city field, enter the city that you would like to target and press enter. You will then get a list of associations. You should look for associations that are aligned with vertical markets that you engage with, such as healthcare and legal. The next step is to look at association financials. You want a healthy association that has been around a while. Many of these associations report their financials. When you've identified the associations that look like good targets for you to engage with, check out their websites. Check to see if they have a leadership section and look for the president or CEO of the organization. Save the contact info and use this for your first email. Once you find associations and contacts, we ask that you send emails to 3 associations that you wish to get into. However, sales is a numbers game. The more emails sent, the greater the chance to start conversations. Prospecting is a daily priority. All right. Well, the good thing about that is now we understand, how to find the corresponding business organizations. Oh, and we started that one over again, so it's okay. So the next thing really is, how do I find the right contact? Okay, so now you say, okay, I found the Manufacturing Association of America, but I don't know, Microsoft. Will you set up the appointment for me? And no, we won't. That's really the one thing we ask you to do. You got to put some skin in the game. So Brian, just before we get into the actual tutorial piece of it, how did you find contacts for your associations after you found the right one?
It is pretty much as you described. Before I start that, I want to ask, how did you get so young? The contacts oftentimes are on the websites. For chambers of commerce, for example, the executives of the chamber are typically listed on a page, and oftentimes their email addresses are also there. There are some times where the email addresses are not quite so visible, in which case you may have to go to an info or something first, but often we've tried very, very hard to go and find the executive's email address. There are certain times where we're not sure, and sometimes we may have a misspelling or something, so we use a tool here and there to be able to go and validate email addresses just to make sure that we've got the right one. But in essence, we'd only try to contact the executive of an association.
Yes, super important. We do not talk to the membership director. Okay, it's an oxymoron. They're tasked with getting you to pay to join their membership, not necessarily about the member benefits. What we want to do is talk to the president and CEO because they're more going to be about the thought leadership portion of it, and that's really important. All right, so how do I find them? Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and play this next one, which is finding the right contact. And let me. All right, so now go ahead and figure out how we can find an association inside of the vertical. So we go to guidestar.org, and in here we went ahead and inputted manufacturing, California. This is the state that we're in. We're just going to go ahead and search it. So we push the search button, and the search results will come up with several different options here, really, all the different types of manufacturing organizations in California. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the California Manufacturing Technology and Consulting, and it pulls up with a great summary, really a summary of the organization, when the year it started, the physical address, which is here in Torrance, which is fantastic. It talks a little bit about some of the programs, some of the financials, operations, leadership. Not all of these are typically filled out, but this looks like a good one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually highlight and copy the actual web address of California Manufacturing Technology and Consulting, and I'm going to open it up into a new window. See, I already did it there. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, great. So this basically is an association of business organizations that specialize in manufacturing solutions. So it's a nonprofit dedicated to improving the manufacturing community in Southern California. So the first thing we needed to do is find out, how do we get a hold of the right person? And the right person is not the marketing director, but is the president and CEO. So we're going to go to the About Us, and we're going to go find the leadership team. So sometimes this is great because it actually tells you who the president and CEO is. That's the person we want to talk to. We do not want to talk to the membership director. Typically, the president and CEO has a little bit more thought, in helping their members, and would probably be very interested in taking a meeting with us. So we have him, but we don't know how to contact him because there's no email here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is go to the contact page. But when we get to the contact page, it says that you can only contact them. They don't have any email addresses. So one way you could do is you could call the actual headquarters and say, hey, I'm calling on behalf of Microsoft, and I want to send an email to James Watson. Can I get his email address? Sometimes they'll give it to you. Most of the time they won't, but that's okay. So we're going to have to do a little bit of super sleuthing. And so we're going to open up LinkedIn, and wow. Actually, what I did first is I went to Google and actually put in James Watson, president and CEO. And then I found out, okay, I've already checked out the leadership team. Business Wire appoints a new president, but then I found his LinkedIn address. So when I clicked on that, this came up. So what this does is it helps us understand who he is and maybe how to get a hold of him. So sometimes these presidents and associations have another company and they might have their contact info right there, but sometimes they won't. So here you're not going to have a connection to him. So what you end up doing is sending Jim an email saying, hey, I would love to talk to you about a Microsoft program. So that's really how you find the right association for your vertical, and how to find the right person to send our pre-can letter so that we can get you in to start marketing to this association in this specific vertical. All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Pretty simple, finding the right contact. Now the next question really is what do I do when I have the right contact? And we'll ask another question. All right. Now that we actually have our contact and we know who he is, and we have found the email address for the person, now it's time to go ahead and send them an email to get a call with Microsoft. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So in the Project Lead Gen Module 1 resources, we actually give you a script that we want you to send out to your president or CEO of the associations that you're trying to get into. And it's very simple. So we'll take the script. I already opened it up for you. And we're basically just going to go ahead and copy the script We're going to copy it, and then we're going to open up an email. Pretty simple. It's an untitled email, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go paste. And then right here, we're going to put in, hello, James. No problem. My name is, we'll put, my name is Manish, since he's here today. And we'd like to support, MTC organization in 4 ways. The value of the benefit to the business association is anywhere between 10 and 15K. And we would like to schedule a meeting with you and Microsoft to discuss the support and help your organization retain and increase membership through education. This email has been tried, it's been trued, and it's been tested, and it works. We don't need to put in a whole bunch of other things into it. And then you're going to go ahead and put James at mtcorg.org. That's going to be his contact information. But what's very important here is you want to make sure you go ahead and send the email to myself or EGen, okay. Or if you're in the Central or East region, you do have your resources to send it to. And then in the subject line, Microsoft 15K educational sponsorship. And that's pretty much it. Oh, looks like I misspelled it, but we'll go ahead and do that. And then you go ahead and just send. And the reason is you're going to send it to them, and then so that we can actually reply to all of the people on the email endorsing our partners who are trying to get into these associations. So send, boom, awesome, we are done. Now you do that for all the different associations that are inside of your vertical market targeting list. Thanks so much. Talk to you later. All right, so I hope that helps you understand kind of how to do it, right, and how to send it out. Now remember, we don't want you to send out 2 or 3. It's a numbers game, right? It's an absolute numbers game. So if you look at your associations, don't think of just in your regional area. You need to have the local chamber maybe that you're at. That's fine. But if you have vertical markets with something, you have vertical markets regionally, statewide, Western region, Central region, East region, national, look them up. Because the nice thing about this program is after you start recording all of your webinars and seminars, you can literally just give those to as an embed link right to these top national associations, and then all their members get to watch you whenever they want on demand, 24/7, 365 free advertising. Okay, so what are the issues that I can solve? So this is the next thing.
The next key step is to figure out what you're going to be offering
to this particular vertical is you need to do a little bit of research. So going back to the CMTC Creating Solutions webpage, it's time for me to kind of take a look around and see what are some of the things that this particular vertical market is looking at or trying to solve. So one of the first things I go to is usually the events in the news, and I'll go ahead and click on the in the news events. So right here, it's very interesting. It talks about some of the different things that are happening within the industry. But then I'm kind of looking down here. It says, ooh, manufacturing special report, Orange County Business Journal. So you can go ahead and click on that. And in the Orange County Business Journal, it has basically a big article on what they're looking for and what this particular vertical is doing in Orange County. So that's a great place to get some information, but we're going to go back. And as we're reading through here, one of the things that I saw, it says, whoa, look, Axonom and CMTC team up to offer comprehensive technology and services for Southern California manufacturers. Very interesting. So there's already a company that's in there right now. So they see the strategy. And then it says right here, if you read through this, Axonom is actually based out of Fresno, and they're a Microsoft Dynamics CRM or Salesforce.com partner. And they actually have they're an ISV that does PowerTrack software. But after I read through this, I didn't see anything in here relating to security. So one of the things that I do know is within the manufacturing industry, security is a big thing. So now I've got some information that I can go ahead and use to help create
my actual package that we're going to get into in a minute. Next thing is success and videos. So there's case studies, but there's also customer stories, and this I think is really interesting. So it right in here, Summer Tree Interiors, lean transformation leads to $400,000 in increased sales. Well, if you're an enterprising partner, you're going to start clicking on that to find out what are the things that they're actually doing that are helping the manufacturing industry. And then what you're going to be doing is creating an IP package or a package that could possibly help this industry out. Now, once again, security is a big thing right now, especially in the manufacturing vertical. So you could theoretically use EMS with Office 365, as well as packaging in something else that you might want to put together.
Okay, so Brian, let me ask you this. If you're looking at that type of stuff, how do you go about finding issues within the industry? Do you use a lot of the same tactics, or do you have anything different?
It's a good question. Maybe just to backtrack a little, one of the things that you and I discussed was to go through the event calendar for some of these associations to see where they have some events going. Yeah. So you and I worked together for a couple of these events where we were able to take some Microsoft software to give away as a raffle prize, and then to introduce the Microsoft Community Connections program to the larger group. From that point, there's an opportunity now to kind of easily get back in to go and schedule webinars and seminars to sort of help educate the membership. One of the things that you point out aptly is cybersecurity for manufacturing organizations. So in one of these events that I went to recently in October, that was the key topic. And then throughout the year, this organization is going to do follow-on events as workshops to kind of help manufacturing companies shore up their cybersecurity.
That's awesome. That's all, and actually, that's brilliant about the finding of the calendar event. I guess that's kind of a way to integrate. It's not just about sending an email. You can call them up and say, "Hey, I'd like to attend the event. We're part of the Community Connections program, and I want to provide some software, a free raffle." Wow! Now you got an invitation to the organization. You can go meet some people, and then you can say at the end of that event, "Hey, by the way, can we schedule a call with Microsoft?" I mean, that's brilliant, right? Actually, Brian, we gotta get you on tape, and you got to say that again, and we need to tell everybody about that. That's another way of just getting in. Find the local association and attend their events. Bring some software. All you have to do is register at Microsoft or mscommunityconnections.com. All right, so then the next question is, why am I looking again at verticals? We're going to be running over a few minutes today. I apologize, we had a lot to cover, but let's go ahead and get into this next tutorial.
All right, so the question is, why exactly am I looking at verticals, and why is this better than the shotgun approach that I've been using for a very long time? Well, I'll tell you real simply, is the shotgun approach, in doing managed services, with the way that we've been doing it in the past really limits you to a localized region. But secondly, it doesn't allow you to create a scalable, repeatable package that you can become very successful and become an expert in. More importantly, if you take a look at this particular website, you will notice that we looked at first the 2015 impact for California manufacturers. On the left-hand side, it actually lists all of the different manufacturing organizations that have been impacted here, or that they actually work with in case studies. Now, why is that important? Because looking at these organizations, you can get a lot of information with this. If you join this association, you're going to be networking and talking to and promoting your product to all of these organizations. They're in the same industry with the same problems, and you can create a repeatable package for them. You're no longer in a position, if you make sure that the package is more software related, you're not in the position where you're, one day you're talking to, a tennis club with 7 computers, and the next day you're talking to a dealership with 40 computers, and you're kind of doing the shotgun approach. You're all over the place. Here, you can work with organizations that are also doing very well. Remember, if you're a member of an association as opposed to a chamber of commerce, you must be doing pretty good, because if you're an advocate for your industry, and you're there, you've reached a point in your business that you can actually spend some other time doing other things. That's why it's so important to be here looking at verticals and looking at a way to change your business and use Microsoft Community Connections to get you in.
Let's get into packaging real quick. We're going to breeze through this, but what I wanted to do was kind of help you understand, and help understand how this translates from the Microsoft Community Connections to CIE to packaging. And that, what we're really trying to do also is increase your level of your profile, but change the way that you're viewed, right? And then change the way that you're making money, which is, how do you do this? So I put together a package outline for you. I called it the Collaboration Compete Gold. And basically, we have pretty specific things: MSP Tier 1 services, Office 365, EMS, and then you put your manufacturer's problem solver. That's what you put in there, and then you always add training. But if you take a look at that, what I did here is I helped you try to help understand cost, price, margin, exactly how we're going to go ahead and come up with this, because what you need to do is figure out, how do we get this to the 61% margin, 45% margin, 35% margin? This is kind of how you do it. It's kind of a quick tutorial on, okay, well, what are you going to price it at, right? So if we have a $10, MSP Tier 1 services, we're going to charge, $20 for it. Right? And what is our margin there? What is our margin on the Office 365 seats, right? Depending on the provider you're working with, that's what's going to happen. So this is really here just to help you understand how to create your margins within your packages, and you should be doing that with all of the industries that you're working with. If we want to get into the next one, it's really, how to package. And, with the how to package piece of it, it's the top three are going to be, pretty much set in stone. You understand those are pretty much set, but it's really, or excuse me, the top two. The third one is really about, putting something together that has emotional marketing value type of words in there, and helping yourself get away from the line item type of pricing. You want to get completely away from that. You don't want to be a part of a price match. You want to talk about whatever you've come up with, and all you have to do is just put them all together, right? And utilize that with the right kind of words that's going to help them understand why it's so important that you put it together just like this. So that's really how to package. Now, lastly, we're going to get back into the project lead gen next steps. Super important piece of it, and it's really the aka.ms/ready to go. You click on that, and then it's going to take you. You download the 5 different modules. When you download the 5 different modules, you unzip it. When you unzip it, it says, get started. You click on that, and it basically takes you to another document that says, hey, get started. You click on that, and that's the Office mix. And that Office mix is going to be the 10 minutes worth of watching videos. Super important. You download the whole thing, because we also give you all the documentation that you're going to need. You're going to need the sales scripts, the phone scripts, the email scripts. We've spent a lot of time doing this for our partners here. Download it and get there. So lastly, I want to turn this back to Brian here. And say, Brian, what are your last thoughts? What are your thoughts on MCC? What are your thoughts on PLG? What are your thoughts on, vertical markets? Help us all out to end the show.
All right, very good. All right, thank you, Sherman. Before I forget, thank you very much to Sherman for having me on today. Thank you for the partners who are watching. If there's anything that comes up in that enterprise resource planning space, please feel free to call or send email. Well, likewise, I want to understand what you do as a partner, so that in situations where we bump into something, that we can refer to you. As far as MCC is concerned, I want to reiterate that it's a process, and it actually is good for me, an organization, to be able to follow that process. As Sherman mentioned earlier, being in a vertical market, I think is important to present yourself as an expert in that market and develop trust. As Sherman has always reiterated, it's a matter of just doing it.
Great. We didn't really talk so much about that today, but you have just done it, and I appreciate that. The only way you make sales and marketing work for you is if you just do it. So we hope that you can continue to do it. Thanks everyone for coming on to this call today. In summer we talked about CIE. We talked about the importance of MCC and pairing it. We want to work with you. We want to help you. We also talked about vertical markets. We talked about packaging. Every Monday we have a new product or a new call that has an hour's worth of great information. We look forward to helping you out and really want to be there for you. So if you need to get a hold of me specifically, you'd go to here's the contact information here. You can email me at scrancer@microsoft.com. You can give me a call. You can also, on this link, you'll see the PLG call every week. It's always the same one. Project Lead Gen is right there. And then we have a planner that we work with. So, Stephen, I think you asked one last question. Where do you find the documentation that I mentioned? And that's going to be right here on this particular slide that says aka.ms/ready to go. Now, if you want to get the actual PowerPoint, you're going to go to PLG Power, which is the aka.ms PLG Power. Anyways, thank you everyone for coming today. I know this is a little bit of a change, but thank you again. Thank you, Brian, and thank you for the MTC staff for helping us out. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.